I'm Dan Fromm with Barkley, Managing Director at Barkley, and I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Before I do, a quick story. One of the big ideas that hit me yesterday, I think it was from the panel, was that there's no going back. Somebody said that yesterday. That's why this is such a critical issue and why we're all kind of here to try and figure this out is that some of the changes that we've seen will continue to be relevant, ongoing. And so there truly is no going back. So I brought my wife and 2-year-old daughter with me to San Francisco, and didn't see them yesterday. They got in the afternoon, and when I got to the room, they were there last night, and our daughter was asleep. So we had a little crib right by the desk in our room, and about 3:45 this morning, I woke up to Olivia. You guys know who Olivia is? Anybody? A little animated pig character that's on TV. But the funny thing is, my daughter is 2. She has no idea how to operate the remote. So if she had gone up onto the desk and got the TV remote, she wouldn't know what to do with it. What she had done was gotten my wife's iPad off the desk, slid the little unlock tab, punched in a 4-digit code that's supposed to keep her from being on the iPad, found her folder that says Lucy, went into the folder, and opened the Olivia app. So there truly is no going back. There was also no going back to sleep for us. So this idea of no going back has really stuck with me, and there really is nobody who gets this probably better here than our next speaker. Rudy Wilson is Vice President of Marketing at PepsiCo in the Frito-Lay division. He's been there 10 years in various roles. He'll talk some about that. But one of the things that I think is really interesting about what he's going to share with us is how this Frito-Lay, PepsiCo, and Frito-Lay specifically have engaged millennials. And they've done it in pretty breakthrough ways, as many of us know. And so Rudy's going to share some of that insight. Especially interesting, I think, will be the idea of really co-marketing and co-content creation, really, which is, again, a strategy that is here. It may have taken some of us by surprise, but it's not going anywhere. So here to share some of that insight is Rudy Wilson.
What I thought would be good is I'm standing in front of you, but you guys have no idea who I am. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about who I am first. So that's me. I'm an Army brat. I lived all over the world, primarily Korea, Arizona, and Georgia, in a small town called Warner Robins. When I first picked that picture, I had no idea that there's little sparklies around Army brats, so don't read into that. I went to Arizona State as an engineering major, believe it or not, when I first started, and for a lot of reasons decided that wasn't for me. Sitting behind a computer crunching math wasn't ideal. After that, I went to General Mills, worked there for a few years, and then went back to school and went and got my grad degree at University of Michigan. Go Blue, anybody there? One person. Well, at least I was at Arizona State. That's Pac-10, so hopefully people were here. Then I went to work at Kraft for a little bit, worked on Kool-Aid. Remind me to tell you later about the initiation they make you start when you're on the Kool-Aid brand. I had to wear the Kool-Aid outfit for a whole summer at all the events. Interesting stories. Then I came over to Frito-Lay, and I started working on Tostitos. And on Tostitos, I ran their day-to-day as well as their college sports strategy, which included the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. From there, I went and worked on Walmart, and this was back in the day when everyone was talking about, oh, Walmart's big, let's start producing products just for Walmart. And so that was my job, was to evaluate that opportunity. From there, I actually started on Sun Chips. Now, Sun Chips was a great brand back in the day where we actually kind of let it go. And so I thought there was a great opportunity to kind of bring it back. So I volunteered to jump on Sun Chips and see if we can make it our next core brand. After that, I got Doritos, and it was an interesting story. Doritos at that point was losing a lot of market share and a lot of relevance with millennials, and it was my job to turn that around. Luckily, we had some great wins on that, and so from there, I was able to become the vice president of all their corn brands, and so that consisted of Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos, and then eventually they brought Sun Chips back to me to try to see. We had a great hike, and then it started slowing down, and so they asked me to try to see if I can bring it back up. Currently, what I do now is I manage the Frito-Lay portfolio. So anything that has to do with multiple brands from an equity standpoint, consumer or shopper engagement, I run the strategy for that. So that's about me career-wise, but I figured you guys want to know a little bit about more of who I am as a person, because hopefully work doesn't define me. I absolutely love movies. I buy a DVD a week, believe it or not. I love salsa dancing. That is a big passion of mine. I used to teach salsa when I got to Dallas. I love riding motorcycles. That's my newest bike I just bought. I love playing Xbox. Yes, I am that man that likes playing Xbox. And I love my wife. So, yeah, I need you to send her an email because that would make me feel really good. All right, so what am I going to talk to you guys about today? Well, what I'm going to talk to you about today is three things. Number one is consumer engagement. I want to make it broader than this whole idea of co-creation, because co-creation is obviously one part of it. And I'm going to do that through a case study. The next thing I'm going to do is talk to you about marketing principles, kind of what are some of those things that I leverage to be able to make that work. And then lastly, just 2 words of advice, okay? So let's get into consumer engagement 101. And look, here's the reality. I'm going to put this down because I can't move anyway. Is this on? You guys hear me? Okay. When it comes to millennials, look, everybody in here deals with millennials, so I'm not going to tell you anything new. We all know that millennials today are going to be the biggest cohort by 2015, and we also understand that they spend a lot of dollars. 1 out of every $5 is spent when it comes to millennials. So that's all stuff you guys know, and you guys also know all the trends. People here understand that they really want immersive experiences. We understand sustainability is key. We even understand the fact that they want control and customization. That's not anything new to you. What I'm hoping to talk to you guys about today, though, is what do we need to do to really engage this consumer? How do we actually engage them, okay? So the way I like to do it is, this is something I usually tell a lot of my young marketers, which is don't overcomplicate it. And I think this cartoon tells it best. If you talk to people the way advertising talk to people, they punch you in the face, right? Sometimes I'm telling you, I think the biggest problem with marketers is they try to be marketers. And so what I want to do is make sure that people understand marketing is really truly about building relationships. And it's like any other relationship out there. So to prove the point, what I'm going to do is share with you some relationship stories that I have with my wife. And then from there, use that as a guide to show you how you can leverage relationship lessons to lessons that work with the millennial consumer or any consumer. So for everybody that's still a little tired, a little bit bored, and you're like, oh, I've heard enough about marketing, how many people in here are single or not married? Today you're going to learn lessons how to get that man, how to get that woman. One way or the other, you're going to learn something today, okay? So let me tell you about some stories about me and my wife. So the first thing I would tell you is I had to know who I was. For people that know my wife, she leads our global strategy for foods at PepsiCo. And what I would tell you is she is a bad woman. And so if I didn't know who I was and what I was bringing to the game, it wouldn't have been anything, right? So I needed to know what I was bringing, what I'm all about, so that I could understand how I could provide value in her life, okay? The other lesson I learned from Nicole is if Nicole is not happy, we're not happy, okay? What makes Nicole happy is really about supporting her passions, what she's interested in. If I put my energy behind what she's interested in and she gets to strive, everybody's happy. Third one is talk to versus talk with. This is just, guys, I don't know why we don't understand this, but you can't tell a woman anything. But if you can engage with her and talk with her, that's always works. I can't say, Nicole, this is what we're going to do. That never works in that Wilson household. What it would be is like, hey, Nicole, what do you think we should do? Here's what my thoughts are. When I talk with her, it always seems to go a lot better. Fourth lesson I learned was every moment counts. Guys, we are great at making sure that anniversaries and birthdays are perfect. But what I've come to realize is those little moments when Nicole is having a stressful day and I draw her the bath and cook dinner, it's those little things that really make her love me even more. She expects the big things. She doesn't expect the little things. So making sure that we focus on every single moment is key. The other one is having a support system. Now, we've only been married for 2 years, but damn, I know you got to have a support system, because there's times when it was rough. And I think, that's what all a wedding is about. You're standing there in front of family and friends, and those are the people that are going to get you not just through the good times, but the bad. And understanding you have the right support team around you is what makes things continue to make those 20 years. And hopefully 20 years from now, I can continue to tell this story with my wife and I. And then lastly, learn and grow together. Obviously, we're continuing to learn about each other. We're continuing to grow, not just amongst ourselves, but as a family. So again, these are just lessons learned that I had with Nicole. So if you believe in my philosophy that marketing is all about relationships, can we use these same lessons and really bring it to life with a case study? So what I would like to do is tell you these lessons learned and see how we applied it to one particular brand, and that brand today will be Doritos. So, know who you are. A little bit about Doritos. Doritos is really about a young millennial brand. Again, when I joined Doritos back in '96, we had basically gone through a year where we had lost, I think in 1 year, about 20 points of relevance with millennials, which in 1 year, that's an unheard of number. And our sales weren't going exactly the way we wanted to. And so the question became, how do we really focus back on it? And again, understanding the first lesson learned about know who you are. And what we realized is we were bold, we were intense, and anything else, we were not like any other chip out there. If I had a commercial and all you saw was an orange triangle on the screen, everybody would say that's Doritos. Because no matter what, there's nothing else out there like Doritos, right? And we had to act like we knew who we were. We were the quarterback and we couldn't get a date with the head cheerleader. We need to stand up for what we knew. So, supporting their passions. Well, I'm just gonna give you one of their examples. Gaming is something that's really important to them. It's a passion. And here's a couple of stats. As you guys know, when it comes to the world of entertainment, some of the largest opening weekends, in fact, the largest opening weekends have always been around video games. Secondly, this gaming is more than just about men or boys. They're both between women and men. And the average age is actually in the young 30s that actually people game. And believe it or not, they're spending 12 plus hours a week gaming, and I have no idea how they do it. I'm close, I'm about 7 or 8, but I don't know how people get to 12. Lastly is people love it so much they stand around midnight showings to get games. In fact, there was a new game launch, Gears of War 3, a couple days ago, and I was watching an episode where they were actually showing people in line at midnight waiting for those games. So again, gaming is one of their passions, and we need to support them. So the question becomes, this is the interesting one. How do you talk to versus talk with? Okay, now this is just my point of view, which is there's stuff that's less engaging to more engaging. And what defines that is really how we as marketers use it from a tools. It's really about advertising versus content. What does that really mean, and how do we break that down between talk to versus talk with? Well, to me, advertising is really about talking to. It's a very passive thing. When you create content, you have the opportunity to talk with. Okay, so here's some examples of what I mean by that. In the world of gaming, you have games like sponsorship that's really about advertising. It's just slap logo here, right? You're gonna sponsor this game. You're just talking to them. You're not asking for any type of back and forth. Then you have stuff that's really kind of about flat integration, which is it's more than just sponsorship, but you're really trying to be able to be more immersive into that world. I think a great example of this is actually State Farm. State Farm sponsors a lot of college basketball, so in the middle of this particular basketball game, just like in real life, they have the halftime report. There's a halftime report there that's State Farm sponsored. So it's taking sponsorship to another level. But let's talk about this world of talking with from a content standpoint. And what you see here is something called dynamic integration. I actually thought this was a really, really interesting example. And what this example is Visa had this new security feature that you could call the number and they could tell you all your last transactions. To kind of help bring this to life, in this particular CSI game, you're presented at a moment where you're seeing the person that had died and there's actually a Visa card. In order for you to actually get to the next level, in the game you had to call the phone number as the investigator and get all the information. So you dynamically learn exactly how that tool is, so which I thought was a really great example. The other one with the talking with is there was a lot of conversation back and forth back in the day with Burger King and really leveraging their king. And so what they heard from a lot of people was they wanted to play with the king more. And so they actually created a video game. So the question became, for me, is, okay, if I understood this talking to and this talking with, and I really wanted to talk with this consumer, and when you marry that up with the fact that I want to be the biggest, baddest, boldest ship out there, do something that no one ever expected, what could I do in this world of gaming? So what I wanted to do was introduce a program called Doritos Unlock Xbox. Here's a quick video. That was our teaser video, and basically what Unlock Xbox did is we gave people the opportunity to finally make their own video game. People play video games, and that'd be great, but we wanted to be able to build a video game based on what consumers felt like would have been the best game that they could build. So how do we do that when it comes to every moment counts? Well, the first thing we had to realize is, and I think someone mentioned earlier, is that there's more than one way to look at a consumer. When it comes to talking with, there's two actual ways to look at a spectator: gamers versus spectators, right? This is the whole YouTube phenomenon. Yeah, there's thousands of people that actually upload, but millions of people watch. And how you talk to both of them should be very different, because how they want to engage with you is very different. And so we understood that there were 5 different stages for us in this particular program, and we had to understand for each of the different stages, who should we talk to and exactly what are the tactics, and there might be times when we only talk to one particular consumer, okay? So what we did is making sure that we understood for each stage, what do we do? Well, we made sure that we surrounded them with all the different activities. And I won't drain this, but basically what this shows is that at every single possible moment in this world or this lifestyle of gaming, we wanted to make sure we reminded people, hey, you like playing this game? Well, I bet you can make a game that's even better. So from in-store to environment to gaming, et cetera, okay? Having a support system, we wanted to make sure we did this with the right company, so we actually partnered with Xbox, and I won't go a lot into that, but we felt like they were the best partner given all that they did. After all this, guys, we actually gave people the opportunity to create the game. We got thousands and thousands of entries, actually about to 5,000 entries, and we actually allowed someone to create the game, and we actually videotaped the whole process so people could see how they worked with the gaming experts, et cetera. We gave them a job with the gaming company afterwards, and when they produced the game, it actually is still now the #1 downloaded Xbox video game in history, right? It's because they knew what they wanted to play with, and that particular game is called Doritos Avatar Crash Course, and it's basically, in Xbox, you can create your own avatar. In this particular game, you could take that avatar and play it within this crash course type of game, this obstacle course. Again, still the #1 downloaded video game. So as you can see, this is just a quick way for you to kind of understand how we leverage relationships to make that work. So if we want to learn and grow together, the question becomes, are there other ways that we can provide empowerment? So I'm going to give you another example. And I'm trying to go through this quick, so please let me know if I'm going too fast so I can allow time for questions. So we asked ourselves, is there another way we can actually allow for empowerment, allow for this co-creation? And so we came up with this idea called Doritos Crash the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you a quick story about this. This was actually the first thing that we did when we were on Doritos. At this particular time, when we were on the brand, again, I think I told you a little bit about the business rationale, we lost a lot of relevance. And what was happening in around 2006 was right at a little bit about a year and a half after YouTube kind of launched. And we were like, wow, what do I learn from that? Well, I know people want their 5 minutes or their 15 minutes of fame, but it seems like nowadays people want their 15 megabytes of fame. And so if they want their 15 megabytes of fame and they're putting it on YouTube, they obviously want people to see it. So if people want to see it and I'm the biggest, baddest, boldest chip out there, where's the biggest, baddest, boldest place that I could provide them to actually get their stuff seen? And at that particular moment, we thought the Super Bowl. Now that sounds very simple, like I'm just having this conversation here, but as you can imagine, being as large of a brand as Doritos is, to have to sit in front of the board and say, hey guys, we haven't been on the Super Bowl in about 5-6 years, so I want to pitch for us to go on the Super Bowl. Okay, great, Rudy, what do you want to do? Actually, I don't know. I want to have a 19-year-old kid do it, and we'll figure it out when it gets on air. That didn't go over too well. It took us a long time, but after a while, the company really understood, based on the trends and the insights like a lot of you guys shared, that really made them say, you know what? Let's take a chance. Let's see what happens. Here's a quick video.
We shot it in like 2.5 hours and spent the rest of the night editing all the way up to the deadline. Let's see if we can actually do this.
Got 2 dudes sharing a bag of chips, and we find out that they're a stolen bag of chips. Yeah, that's what you get for stealing another guy's chips.
The prize money and the exposure would really help the team and myself professionally.
The level of exposure I get off of the Super Bowl commercial would just open up any commercial door I wanted.
$1 million by beating all the big boys to the low-budget Super Bowl act. Right now we're living a dream and we're gonna go where the dream takes us.
There were some great ones last night, like this one for Doritos.
You don't know me!
Put it back.
It's a miracle!
So that's just a quick teaser video. The first year we did it, the process goes, we give them the brief, which basically says, just make a commercial about your love for Doritos. Simple as that, okay? And then we gave them about 8 weeks to actually create the video. Now, we don't touch the video. However they come in is how we would actually air it, okay? First 2 weeks in the first year, we didn't receive not one single video. I thought for sure I was getting fired. For whatever reason, it never dawned on me the fact that they actually had to take the time to make the video. I just thought there'd be videos uploaded right away. And no one else thought that too. We just knew this was not gonna work. And this, we had a very small team, about 5 people, and we thought for sure it was not gonna go well. But we ended up getting about 2,000 videos, which again is a lot. Back then, the only other video contest was out there was with Converse, and they had about 500. So we were hoping to get 700, 800. So the fact that we got 2,000 shocked the world. And the shocking continued. We actually ended up getting number 4 in 2007 for that particular Super Bowl. And these were actually 2 19-year-old kids that actually lived in the basement of their parents' house. In fact, there's a rolling scene, and the way they got the rolling scene is one kid stood on the skateboard with the camera as the car was going. Right? And as you guys know, most of you guys have Macs. In fact, I bought a Macintosh after this. They literally used a camera and a Mac. And that's all it took. So then we decided to do it again. In 2008, we actually did a music contest, but just for the fun of it, we actually entered one of our top 5 finalists from the previous year, and that actually got number 4 as well. Okay? And so, believe it or not, after 2 years of getting number 4, people were like, oh, this is a fluke, don't even do this, they're never gonna be as good as the experts. And I know there's probably some ad agencies out here, and we could talk about that in a second, but let me be clear. The ad agencies was, Goodby Silverstein was phenomenal in this process because people forget, in order for us to get all of this, we had to create the experience, create the advertising, create the inspiration to actually get great work. So kudos to Goodby for their help there. So we did another contest, and what we did was same program, but we said, look, people don't believe you can get number 1, so forget it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put $1 million out there. If you can kick Budweiser off of number 1 from 10 years ago, we'll give you $1 million. Easy peasy. We figured, you know what, if people don't believe that we believe in our fans, that we think that consumers, our millennials, are just as good as anyone else, we'll put $1 million. And believe it or not, we got number 1 that first year when we actually offered that up. And those were 2 guys, and you guys probably heard the story. They were actually 2 unemployed guys that spent about their last $2,000 to make this video. The next time we did it again, we actually wanted to get number 1 again. We aired Underdog, and that got number 2. The next year after that, people kept saying, well, can you really repeat it? And we said we wanted to get number 1, 2, and 3. We still believe that our millennials are that strong. And we actually partnered with Pepsi Max, and we ended up actually getting number 1 again. So that consumer won $1 million. For whatever reason, the people that actually seemed to win these were all people that were unemployed and were just about to go under. This guy was a great guy. And the fact that year we got number 1, 4, and 5. So we were really close to being able to get 1, 2, and 3. We got number 1, 3, and 5. So if we would have had just one more get in, they would have all won additional money. So just to have it fun, I thought what I'd do was share some of these commercials so you could take a look at them. Here we go. First one is Live the Flavor, the 19-year-olds. This one's Mousetrap. just an FYI, all we actually provide them are the end cards as well as the license-free music. So everything else is all theirs.
Hey, man. What's that?
It's my crystal ball.
It looks like a snow globe.
Nuh-uh, it's real. Here, watch. Free Doritos at the office today? I think that's a yes! Free Doritos!
Will I finally get that big promotion?
Ha! Promotion? Not in your future.
Here we go. And then Underdog.
Hey, dog. Anti-bark collar. You want a Dorito, you gotta speak. Speak. Oh, come on.
So all of those commercials actually aired during the Super Bowl. One thing I forgot to mention is the way I got this through the organization is saying, don't think about it as $3 million for 30 seconds, right? You have to think about the ROI in a very different way. We're not just talking to consumers during the Super Bowl. We're taking the 6 months from August through the Super Bowl where people are actually creating the videos, watching the videos. There's ROI involved with that. The type of conversations we went back and forth. We actually created forums where I had people on my team that actually posted the forums. These are marketers on my team that would actually talk back and forth with the consumers. So now what we're looking at is not just 30 seconds, we're talking about 6 months worth of communication, right? And so what I promised was a $10 million ROI. So instead of just getting $3 million that we paid out, with all the communication back and forth and with the PR, we'll be able to actually get more money or get more return. Just to let you know, throughout the years, in each single year, we're getting about $1 billion worth of unpaid impressions. This is just different newspapers picking up, different blogs. We're talking about a $3 million spend, which got me a return of almost $40 to $50 million. So you can see how that starts to make financial sense, right? Now, unfortunately, I didn't have Pug Attack, which was the last one that was #1. So what I thought I'd do is I got 3 other videos here that my teams love that never aired during the Super Bowl that you guys might think is interesting. Or one of them did actually air during the Super Bowl. Here you go.
I love Doritos, but where are we going to find the next great flavor? Well, what about beverages? And then that got me thinking, what do I like to drink? I give you Doritos beer. Finally, a snack for the mature palate. And each chip contains the equivalent of 1 16-ounce can of smooth, malty, full-body beer. So what do you think?
That is truly a horrible idea.
You don't know me!
Doritos, leave the flavors to us.
Eat responsibly.
Security?
We tried to push the company. I thought it would be funny if we created like a 6-pack of those and sell them as limited edition. That went a little too far. They didn't agree to that. All right, here's the next one. This one actually ended up becoming a viral phenomenon. We aired it during the Super Bowl.
Hi. Aw, thank you. Have a seat. Kyle, Jalen. Jalen, Kyle. Jalen, you play nice. I'll be right back.
What's going on, little man? I see you got your game skills down, Pack. You might have your hands full once. I'll pick up the controller, little man.
Put it back. Keep your hands on my mama. Keep your hands on my Doritos.
Jalen, are you playing nice?
This last one is a video that came in our first year, and I promised the team that originally aired it that whenever I share more than one video from Crash the Super Bowl, that I always have to air this one because this is by far their favorite. It didn't air on the Super Bowl, it didn't even become one of our finalists, but they think it's the funniest thing in the world. Again, a video from the first year.
I'm Cuddly Wuddly, and I love Doritos so much. I'd be a perfect spokesperson because I'm so cute.
Next.
What? You! You think I need this? You can bag? You think I need the Doritos? I was selling fabric softener back when your mama was wiping your
Doritos, you swear by them.
See, it's funny now, but when your job is on the line in year one and you get shit like this, you're like, oh man, I'm in trouble. All right. So again, that's really around this whole idea of co-creation. And the tips that I would tell you guys is people forget that every year when we did a lot of these co-creation events, like Unlock Xbox and Crash the Super Bowl, there were actually other programs that were exactly the same thing. In Unlock Xbox, there were other people that were giving people the chance to create games. In Crash the Super Bowl, every single year, there's other people that are actually giving people the opportunity to create something. So what's the difference? How come we always stood out? The difference was we actually gave people complete control. Okay? We really said, it's just like in relationships we talked a little bit about earlier. If I fully trust someone, I'm fully going to trust them. I'm going to let you create the whole commercial by yourself. I'm not going to touch it. Other contests that have, Super Bowl programs, what do? You submit the script, we'll look at it, we might make edits, and then we'll create it and air it. There's a difference between the two. And so I think the more you trust, the more you get back. People always say, well, didn't you get a lot of negative commercials? We have never received, to this date, a negative commercial in any of our submissions. And I think it's because of the respect that we've been able to build with our consumers that, hey, if you're going to give us this trust, I'm going to respect you enough to give you that trust back. Okay? But again, co-creation is only one way to do it. And so we had to ask ourselves, how can we be more than just a bag of chips? And I think the panel did a great job in saying the real question in understanding that is, how do you actually define and drive value to this particular consumer? So it's not necessarily taking a $1 bag of chips and discounting it to 75 cents. The other option is selling $1 of chips and making it feel like you just got $2 worth instead of that $1, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can drive value. And so we had to ask ourselves that question. Again, with this whole idea of engaging this consumer, what else can you do to engage them and make sure that they feel like they're a part of the family and we're building that relationship? So let me give you a couple different platforms that we worked on. How am I doing on time? Is it okay? The first one is late night platform. And so what we did is there was actually a product that we called Late Night. And what we wanted to do was we recognized that one of the moments that people actually really, really wanted to eat Doritos, but didn't have Doritos or because they forgot about it, was actually during the late night. So we thought, well, let's create the product. So we had to do something that we felt like could help kind of launch this in a very unique way. So we had to ask ourselves, besides snacking late night, what else do they do? Well, they actually listen to music, right? And so what we thought would be great is, what if we could give them an unexpected music experience? And so we partnered with two major artists. We partnered with Blink-182, and then we also partnered with Big Boy. And so what we did was give them a concert that actually happened in the palm of their hands. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with augmented reality. And basically on the back of this bag, what you found was this symbol, and if you put it in front of your camera, what happened is this concert actually came out from the back. So let me show you what that looked like.
Program my name on my number under plumber, and I'ma lock you in as the plunger, cause you and your mouth really do wonders. I'm under your spell like you buried my drawers in the backyard. I like a J when you say hit the crack hard. A doggy style for the black card. No way we ain't trying to take it that far, but you a star and I'ma let you shine. I see all the signs when you show the full moon from behind. Close those come out them under clothes. Shouted I chose you and not the mother whore. A toast I propose to all those who know the G code and got their very own.
So the next year, we decided to do this again. We actually wanted to make it more global. One of the things that we found was that people actually, I think someone said it earlier, there's a lot of interest about seeing things from different countries. And so we launched Late Night globally across the globe. And so what we did was give people the same type of experience, but with local artists. And then all of that would build up to actually a concert experience that you could actually manipulate a music video with Rihanna, an exclusive song just for Doritos globally. So here's a... was literally a music video because it was about your two different sides of who you are as a person. The day-to-day, straightforward business person, night, you like to go out and party. So using this bag, you could actually switch back and forth between the music video. It was really innovative. In fact, we had conversations, MTV thought it was so interesting, they thought about giving it a separate award during the MTV Music Awards because it was just very different. So anyway, I wanted to give you a quick glimpse into that. Another quick platform was this whole idea around fear. People love being excited, so we thought we'd have some fun with it. And so one of the things we get requests for every year is people ask for bringing some of their favorite chips back. So here are two of their favorites, but we didn't want to just bring it back anyway. We thought we could leverage the fear platform. So what we did was we again used our bags and created these limited edition bags where we brought back our new flavors. I don't know how much you can see it, but if you actually kind of look deep into those bags, you actually see kind of a ghost kind of face in there. And so what we did is, again, by leveraging these bags, you could actually unlock what we called the first online haunted house experience. So that was Hotel 626, Asylum 626. It actually opened up only from 6 p.m. at night to 6 a.m. in the morning. So you can only experience it at night in the dark. And so what we did was we allowed people to have some very unique experience. It was a very cinematic experience. And what would happen is you would actually go in there, and there was one part of the thing where you come up to a phone and you enter your cell phone number, and all of a sudden the game would call you. And so as you're running down this maze, the game would say, hey, take a right here, because it knew where you were. And if you took a left, it would say, you took the wrong one. You were supposed to take a right. And so it goes back and forth. In fact, and then this was a secret, but 2 weeks after you played the game, that ghost would call you back on your cell phone and freak you out. We had to stop that because it freaked people out a little too much. So our lawyers called and said, you just went too far with that one. But then we also had different moments when using your webcam, it was almost like the Wii, where you could actually move your head and dodge different things. There were different points where you would challenge with, hey, you got to save. All of a sudden, it would go to your Facebook page, grab 2 of your friends and say, you can only save one. Which friend are you going to save? Then it would go back to your Facebook and tell everybody which one you saved. So again, it's about creating these immersive experiences to engage them in a different way, allow them to feel like that they were having, again, not just a $1 experience, a $5 experience, right? You just had a cinema experience with that. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you, but now let's talk a little bit about what are the marketing principles that kind of got me there. And so here's what I would tell you. The first one that we leverage is it's not just about a continuity plan, it's about this whole idea of consumer engagement. Again, if you're trying to build a relationship, if I'm trying to date someone and think, hey, I'm just gonna have one great date and not talk to her for 6 months, or just talk to her on the phone, that should be enough. It doesn't work that way. And so if you want to build a relationship, making sure that you consistently have those moments where you're engaging them is going to be key, right? People want to know, especially millennials, if you want to build that relationship, that you aren't just using them as a one-night stand, okay? The second principle is this whole idea that big ideas, what I like to call it, should be the center of all your programs. So what does that mean? In my mind, there's 2 things. There's the consumer truth, and then there's the brand truth. Okay? The consumer truth is universal. Everybody should have those same things. Then the brand truth is what you specifically stand for. The intersection between the 2 is actually what the big idea is. It's basically saying, in this world of consumer insights, me, brand X, I want to take just that one portion of it. That's how I can uniquely own that one place. That's that big idea. By doing that, you provide resonance relevance and you own a unique place. And what I would tell you is that big idea has to be the center to it all. To me, the analogy I like to use is it should be the plot to your book. So if you have a chapter, you got to make sure that the plot goes through every single chapter. It shouldn't be inconsistent. The other way to think about it is, again, if I'm going on a date with you, if I'm person X on the first date, person Y on a different date, you have no idea who I am. So you have to make sure your big idea is consistent, that you're consistent through all of those dates. Again, using the metaphor of having a relationship. The third one to me is really about this whole idea of utilizing timely trends. And I know there's a lot of insights for people here, and here's what I would tell you. I personally think there's a lot of stuff that we call timeless truth. And this is something that's true throughout the ages. A millennial timeless truth to me is the fact that they're looking to try to figure out who they are, right? And those are addressing timeless needs. It's the timely trends or the timely expressions that are different. What do I mean by that? So if the millennials are always trying to figure out who they are, how they show that to the world is different. In the 70s, they might go and do a lot of different revolts and stand up and do different things. Today, they might blog about it. Activity is different. The intent of what they're doing is the same. So again, timeless versus timely. Understanding the difference. If you want to be relevant, you got to make sure you're leveraging the timely trends. I think a perfect example of this, and it's probably used more often than it should be, is Madonna. To me, Madonna's great because she's the same push the limits person, but every single year she changes it up in a way that makes sure it's relevant with the new generation, but she's still the same. So I think making sure that you understand that you as a brand need to evolve to make sure you're addressing those timely expressions. Okay? Now, speaking about timely expressions, this one is a big pet peeve of mine, is you have to know the difference between triggers and trends, okay? MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, to me, those are triggers. I hate when people say, what's your Facebook strategy? I don't have a Facebook strategy. I have a social media strategy. And the reason why I say that is because they're triggers. They lead to a trend that lead to your execution. Why is that important? Well, if you leverage a trigger, and let's just take Facebook, and I know this is going to be horrible to say, but let's say Facebook disappeared tomorrow. Is all of a sudden your strategy gone? No. There might be another trigger, and there might be another entity that still leverages the trend, and you're not cornered, okay? So understand the difference between the trigger versus the trend, and leverage the trend, not the triggers, okay? Principle 5, always stay ahead of the trend. Again, when it comes to millennials, they are always trying to do something never been done before. And this one's a little tricky. You want to be ahead of it, you don't want to be too ahead of it. You don't want to be at the end of it. And so really making sure you stay up to date is key. So for what do we do for that? So like on my team as marketers, we make sure that we do monthly immersions, make sure we're out there. I ask them, hey, do you know what the top 5 download was today? If you're not walking in the shoes of the consumer, you're never going to be able to stay ahead of it. Marketing is all about science, but it's also all about gut. And we need to make sure we're really pushing our gut as much as we're pushing our science. Principle 6, and this is my last principle, is ideas drive the media and the content. The one thing I think marketers do is they say, hey, I need a great TV commercial, and then they figure out the idea. Or they say, hey, I want to do a great website, and then they figure out the idea. Again, if you're trying to be relevant to the consumer, come up with the idea, and then understand which medium you want to use to be able to create that bond and that engagement, okay? So remember, ideas drive it. Some ideas won't have all the mediums, and that's okay, especially back to principle 1, if you're having those multiple interruptions with that particular consumer, okay? So last 2 pieces of advice. First one, again, really leveraging this idea about relationships and what I learned from my wife. The one big thing I would tell you when it comes to millennials is you have to be flexible. What I tell people is when people ask me, so what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? My answer is, I don't know, but I'm going to be listening because they're going to change and you have to be flexible, but it's going to be a fun ride. I learned that lesson, by the way, from my wife because we are actually expecting our first baby in about 12 weeks. So I'm sure it'll be, thank you very much. Sure be a little flexible there. I'm a little excited and nervous all at the same time. And the last piece of advice I would leave you, speaking about parents, is the advice that my parents gave me, which is good, better, best. Never let it rest till the good gets better and the better gets best. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.